this is the tied pattern. It's a really traditional Japanese design. Cut it to the same size as your pattern piece, and then we're going to pin it onto the paper. Try to match the corners as you go. So to trace the design, we're going to use a light box, and you can buy these on Amazon. They're not too expensive. If you're going to do a lot of embroidery, this is a really great thing to invest in, but otherwise you can just use a window. It's absolutely no trouble. Even if your pattern piece is really large, put lots of pins throughout the design between the shapes, and then put some masking tape along all of the edges and stick this to your window, and honestly you get a great result from that. So first of all, we're just going to mark the thicker edges, and then we're going to sew those first, and then after we've completed that, we're then going to put it back on the light box and draw the inner lines. It's just so much easier that way and far more relaxing, which is what we're aiming for. Right, let's get going. I'm talking too much. There we go. And the lovely thing about organic shapes, like this one, is they're so forgiving. Done this. As you can see, the fabric moves quite a bit because this is a very fluid, lightweight linen. Just put your finger either side of the line you're drawing and then draw. It holds the fabric much better. Piece off. So here is the DMC 6-strand floss, and when you're pulling it out, try to get the thread that's coming from the center of the skein. I know that might sound a bit odd, but there's a thread that's on the outer edge as it's wound around, so the one from the center pulls really neatly when you're pulling out. And we want to pull out probably about 40 centimetres. That's a great length to start with. And that's probably the length between the tip of your finger to your elbow. And as you're pulling, so it's about 2 pulls of the skein. When you've got your length, cut it off, but leave yourself a little tail on the skein so that next time it's really easy to find the right thread to pull out. So we've got our thread. Now we're going to split it. So let me show you how to do that. One thread out. So can you see it coils up? But it's amazing. It always bounces straight back out. And then we're going to take another thread because we're going to separate into 2 and 4 that we're going to put through because we're doing the outer section of the design. So as you're holding the 4 threads, bunch them together and then pull them through your thumb and forefinger like so. So they're just peeping out, and then just a little bit more, and then we're almost going to push the hole of the eye of the needle onto those 4 threads to encourage them through the hole like so. And then ease that through. No licking of the threads is needed or anything like that. And now, because we're doing the modern method of sashiko, we're going to do a knot in the end so it doesn't come through the fabric. So just pinch the long tail of the embroidery floss and we're going to wrap it round 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've created a little coil. Just hold that long thread in between your thumb and forefinger again. Hold that lightly but firmly, and we're going to just pull through so that this coil goes down to the end of that long tail. There we go. It's a lovely knot, if I might say so myself. So let me just snip off the tail. So you've got about 3mm piece. It's going to have a 1 centimetre seam line. So we're going to start just outside that. And this is 4 strands of embroidery floss. And we're going to do a bolder stitch. So it's probably going to be about 3 or 4mm long. And then we're going to have a small gap between them. I like it to be stronger so you see more of the thread. So the gaps are shorter than they probably would be in if you're doing a traditional SASHIKO design. And then, as you can see, I'm holding the needle with my main hand and I'm weaving onto the point of the needle with my other hand. So I'm right-handed, I'm holding the needle in my right hand and I'm weaving on with my left hand. And weave as far as you can go comfortably. Because my fabric is really fine and very fluid, I can go quite far. But if you have, if you're using a thicker cotton or a SASHIKO fabric, which is almost like a canvas, very, very thick, you may need to do shorter lengths. So I've really gone far. Now, if we were to pull the fabric open, it would be much harder for the thread to go through. This is a much shorter distance for the thread to get through. And also the way the fabric is lined, it's much easier for the thread to get through. So we hold it in position and gently ease through until we're through to the end. And now hold the edge of the thread and fabric with, I'm holding it with my right hand, thumb and forefinger, and gently easing out the stitches. And if you find that it's puckering a bit, don't worry, just lay it flat and stroke out the fabric and thread. It's better to do it with each stitch that you do, or each length of stitches, rather than right at the end of a long section of stitching. And now naturally I'm going to come up here on a stitch, on a section to stitch that's really near where I've just finished. So in my mind's eye, I'm going to go up to this one and then back down and do those. Pardon me. And when you get stitching, this is such a gorgeous stitch to do, because you really start to relax, because you're not worrying about changing colours, or am I doing, you know, just if it's really ornate and fancy. That's the gorgeous thing about SASHIKO. Be yourself with it as well. There we go. Sometimes if there's if it's really long lengths like this design is, go through to the back and just tie off with a little tiny knot. So to do a knot, put the needle through Put the thread round twice, like so. Hold that with your secondary hand thumb to my left, and then I'm going to pull the needle through gently and keep my nail on those 2 twists, and you create a tiny knot. So now I'm going to go up to the next section here. We're going to start outside the 1 centimetre line. I'm just going to do a little back stitch outside the line, go to the back of the fabric. So this won't be seen on the finished piece because it's, you can see it's really near the edge. And now we're just going to bring the needle to the front of the work and get stitching. See, I missed a bit there. I should have pulled that through, but it's gone a bit loopy. I should have laid it flat on the table. Just help it along a bit, kind of ease the stitches through. And as you can see, it looks fine. This is more challenging, this fabric, because it's so fluid. It's better to have a more stable fabric, like a quilting cotton or a thicker linen that holds its form better, is a closer weave. And we're just going to finish off here. So again, just go to the back of the work, go into one of the stitches, twist around twice, once, twice, oops, and then put that knot under your nail and push it really close to the fabric, like so. Now we're going to cut the thread to about 3 millimeters long, 4, 5 millimeters. Lovely. So I'm going to start from outside the outside edge and go in and come out where I want to start stitching. I'm going to come out on the brown side because my thread is brown. So I'm going to secure it. Can you see the end? The tail is just there. I'm just going to pull it so it's inside. Now I'm going to just do a couple of securing stitches, like so. So it's really strongly in place. And now I'm going to pinch between my finger and my first finger and my thumb, and we're going to, just as though we're cinching in a corset, that's the word, not basque. We're going to go across as though it was the ribbon on the back of a corset. And these tiny stitches that are invisible will hold it securely. We are right at the end of the row. Now we've closed up that gap. So when this is on the table, you won't notice anything. It's going to be beautifully hidden away. So to finish off, we're going to put the needle through maybe 2 strands of the fabric and then put it around twice, once, twice, pull that down and pull the thread through. Then put your nail on the knot and kind of pull it right back down to the edge of the fabric. And you can do another one. Make it super secure. And then to finish off, rather than cut your thread here, if you take your needle and put it into the work and then come out on a bulky bit like so. Going to be hidden away, and then trim off flush to the fabric like so. And we're done. Lovely. I'll finish those off now and show you at the end.